Hey, everybody, we are back again with Clavin Mann. Clavin is the definition of a legend. Clavin is somebody who believes in hope. He's somebody who knows what it means to face adversity and overcome no matter what the obstacle. I met him here on Clubhouse, and for those of you watching on other platforms, if you don't know what Clubhouse is, this is Clubhouse. Each of these icons is another person, another part of the world. It is a live social audio platform that allows you to talk in real time to people everywhere of all walks of life. If you're not in Clubhouse, I highly suggest jumping on and seeing what it's all about. But today we're here talking about Clavin. Clavin is the man in white right there. Clavin lives in Detroit, Michigan, and for the last 14 years has ran a nonprofit outreach program to young boys without fathers. But he's so much more than that. The truth is Clavin is a man who is willing to face every single odd, no matter the obstacle, to make that dream come true. And even with the face of all that adversity, in the last 14 years, he's impacted the lives of over 20,000 kids. Now, we all know that the statistics of young suicide in this country and the world, but out of that 20,000 kids, Calvin's never lost one. Now, that's some statistics I like to hear. His current project is he's trying to create 10 mobile mentoring seminars so he can take that 20,000 number and expand it exponentially bigger. I think that's something that we could actually use. So we're going to talk to Clavin. I'm going to get his story directly from his lips because I can talk about him all day long, but nothing says it like he does. So, hey, Clavin, how are you doing today?
Oh, just dandy. Awesome. Fired up, ready to roll.
You sound like you need some coffee this morning.
No, I literally just got back in town from a wedding, and, I got my whole block lit up with young males. And so they all walk around, playing. And so I just stopped, make sure they got some gifts of encouragement, talk with them, and, talk with their parents real quick. And then just, got to this phone and ready to roll with you.
Awesome, as always. So let's go back to the beginning. Before you got into the whole nonprofit thing, you were a coach, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah. I was a pretty good coach. Yes, sir.
What did you coach?
I coached high school basketball. I was the youngest varsity basketball coach at the age of 23 at Ferndale High School, and I did that for quite a few years, putting over 40 young men in college. And as a matter of fact, one is assistant head coach at Michigan State, Dwayne Stevens.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
How long did you do that for?
Oh, man, I coached probably for a good 16, 18, a good 16, 18, a good 18 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, a good 18.
You've been helping people a long time.
Yeah, I started, I got kicked out of college, right? I was going to a basketball scholarship to a Christian college. I had all the wrong information. And when I got out, one of the first things before I got out, I was introduced to Special Olympics. A friend, she took me to Special Olympics, and I did the Special Olympics event, and I think I cried all day, but it did something to me, and I started evaluating people in my life, my teachers, my educators, my uncles, the different people who had influence on me at the age of 20, 19. Here I am out of college. By the time I turned the age of 20, I was headed to my path, and I went to my godfather. He gave me a whistle, and immediately I was in the championship game. I took the boys to the semis and to the girls to the championship, and we won Great Lakes State games. I was 20 years old, and then that's when it all started. I started seeking new information.
That's great. That's awesome. So you were like a lot of people. You struggled with college, huh?
It wasn't that I struggled with college. I never paid it any attention. Like once I got on the campus, I did all the things that I was told. Right, mess with girls, travel to go from different camp, all the things that I was told. But no one said to me, you're going to this college. Here are some tools you need to graduate. Right, you need to focus on this. Right, and not that. Right, and so. In all my years of working with youth, they never got the conversation I got. So, the young men that I coached are all husbands and fathers, graduated from college, very high success rate at 90 some percent of my boys graduated from college. And just like with the mentoring, uh, since I've been mentoring, not one fight and a very high successful rate of, guys becoming leaders.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning. You said that you didn't have anybody to point you in the right direction. So you were one of those kids that grew up without a father too.
Yeah, I lost my dad. My dad was in my life, but not fully in my life. And I ended up losing my dad by the time I was the age of 24. We were coming close. I had uncles, right? And I had a lot of males in my life, but again, the type of information that I needed wasn't necessarily imparted to me. And part of that was a lot of people, they didn't believe in me. It's not their fault, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times people see young people and right away they size them up and they just don't believe it. And so I was that young man, I was the young man that got messed over in high school and the whole nine, but I also had a lot of success in high school. And so, I got a couple of teachers, Miss Corrigan, my music teacher, and I would say my middle school coach, Evan Lado, and, but they weren't there when it was time for me to go to school, right? So it's time for me to go to college. I don't think Miss Corrigan ever believed in me that I would be a college graduate, right? I could sing, but I don't think she ever believed that I would ever graduate from college because those were not the conversations we were having. And it was like that with a lot of people, because I was always, the one thing about me, Jeff, was I was always leading. I could get my teammates to do what the coach couldn't do, right? I could get, like I'm on the student council, all of that. So I was always leading, and that's a threat to someone in education or a coach or something. You're a threat because you have more power than they do, right? And I was clear that I was a leader. I did whatever I wanted to do. I had a ball in high school. You know what I mean? I did a lot of a number of things that madrigals, tried out for plays, student council, basketball, football, track. Like, I was that guy, but no one took the time to really believe. Not even my counselor. Like, my counselor was a jerk. Like, he called me to the classroom to find out who I was dating next because I was popular. You know what I mean? But never. It wasn't until one day some friends walked into the counselor's office, and I was talking with him, and I was having this conversation like, man, I think I want to go to college, that type of thing. And some friends of mine walked in, and even them, they didn't mention, they were on their way to college. And so, some of the red lights went off, and life took its toll, so I took my turn and to do what I needed to do.
When you were just talking, it made me think of all things Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. The whole being popular thing. But you said it was the Special Olympics that changed your perspective of things, correct?
Yeah, it was the special. She took me to the Special Olympics. Her name was Mary Brown, Mary Brown, I know her, right? We find that reconnected on Facebook years later, but she took me to Special Olympics, and I, um, I volunteered to go, and man, I think I cried all day, the whole day, because it's an unfamiliar territory, and it's humbling, and right, you see the greatest of the spirit of humans really moving to do things that, again, people didn't believe that they could do.
Being the
And so,
underdog.
yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Being the underdog, it sounds like it has a negative connotation almost. But to me, like, I'm always on the lookout for underdogs, the ones who can defy the odds, the ones that nobody believes in. I mean, hell, I've been that multiple times. I usually still am because I tend to reach way beyond what people believe is possible. And I've seen that that's something that's been consistent in your life. The more stories I hear, they all line up with that exact same fact. Uh, so after the Special Olympics, you started to put together EMIY World.
So when it was years, I was when I took a job on my off days at a daycare center, and in 1992, God gave me the words, "Encourage me, I'm young." It wasn't until 2004 when everything started happening. Right, like it was like okay, it was like God was like, "All right, I've had enough. This is it. This is what you're going to do." Right, and so in 2004, that's when I started laying shirts with kids who getting killed. But that was just me starting a clothesline, right? And the clothing was to bring hope to people, right? Families who would lose a loved one or lose a child. And so that's when I started that whole process. And man, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. It was between me and God. I didn't say nothing to nobody. And, I would just write down the affirmations that was coming into my spirit, and days and days and days. Okay, now how do we get it out? And I started by laying shirts with kids was getting killed, and in 2007, that's when a mom gave me the nonprofit.
So let's talk about the shirts you laid. What for those who've not heard your story before, tell us about what you do.
So we do a number of things, right? We seed in the lives. Our whole nonprofit is seeding in the lives of boys to the restoration of families, right? We do campaigns, and we got programs for boys 8 to 14. We have several other programs, but you got to get the people involved. For boys 14 to 24, age 3 to 7, we got a Reading is Life campaign, a program for young boys to make sure boys learn to read. Right, we have these things in place, but our main thing is our mentoring program, 8 to 14 year olds up to the 8th grade, in prevention and intention. Our work is to make sure that they don't drop out, that they don't fail and not get back up, and they become the servant leaders of tomorrow. So our boys have to do community service. They're cooking. They're leading their families. They're leading their schools, and we have a very high success rate with a 98% parental involvement. And then our awareness is our Emmy National Respect Day. The Smash Suicide campaign we started during COVID because the whole suicide thing just exploded on young boys 5 to 11 in the last 5 6 years. And so this is the work we do, um, and we have not let up. And we put product in 8 countries, seed products, which is even on our labeling. And again, our apparel plays a significant part in our messaging, and just figuring out how to get that global has been fun, right? Sometimes, like you said, sometimes you go through all those things that you go through to realize, like, wow, look at what I've become, right? Because improving yourself is key. So I had to become someone to do any of this work. And so land shirts with kids being killed is a very significant challenge in this process before we even got to the nonprofit. And that's pretty heavy. Not everybody can handle it, but my intent was to bring hope to families.
So what made you lay the first shirt?
The very first shirt. Oh man. So we had a rap artist named Vicious. There was a TV show called Platinum. My brother was his manager, and we were at a location where he was getting ready to perform, and I'm sitting at the bar when a 12-year-old had got killed, right? And the story goes, the sister had a small birthday party with just like 6 people. It wasn't even a huge birthday party. And 2 guys got into an argument and left. And what happened was the guys went, on their way out, they decided that one was going to go to the left, one was going to go to the right, and they both were going to shoot back into the house. At the time, the 12-year-old was taking out the garbage after the party, and the 12-year-old got struck.
Man.
And I'm watching the news, and I'm like, that's the first place I'm going to go. So a day or so later, right, I got this shirt, and the quote says, "Time is all we have to change what we are." And I really want to emphasize that quote, because look at us as a country right now. We kind of inadvertently didn't change a lot of things that we were supposed to change. And look at society, look at poverty, look at the people, look at the homelessness, where it's more men than women that's homeless, right? Look at the policies and the program, right? So time is all we have to change what we are. Look at what we did to education. Look how we took our tax dollars, removed it from education because we didn't want certain people to get an education. Now look at us. We're in the bottom feeders of education nationally, right? Look how we treat each other, right? So I called to check on my brother. Back to the story, I called to check on my brother who was living on the east side at the time. It was a lot of murdering. So you got to know, in Detroit, in Michigan, period, Michigan has at least 7 cities on the murder list, right? At the national murder list. And, Detroit is constantly in the top 10. And so I called to check on my brother, and my brother was like, I'm straight, we good, right? And I say, so how's everything? Oh, man, I'm good. He said, but did you watch the news? I say, man, I tried not to, but he said, did you see the 12-year-old boy that got killed? I said, yeah, man, I took a shirt over there. He was like, you? He was like, man, I didn't even realize it was you. That's my nephew. And I'm like, what? He like, yeah, that's my nephew. So this is my half brother. And I'm going, what are you saying? Like, really? He was like, man, my whole family want to meet you. So I show back, I show up at the house to get you to the real story. A couple of days later, I go by the house. This is before I call my brother. And in that process, the house is real loud. I yell out as the father in there. And they was like, yeah, I parked my car on the corner and I walk up to the house. It's eerily quiet now. She puts her foot in the door and she takes the business card and the shirt. And as I'm walking away, you can hear her say, you see, look at this blessing. See what God said? Time is all you have to change what you are, right? And she was like, what a blessing. You see how the Lord, y'all got to stop, And so she was going through the process. So this was my brother's mom at the time. I don't know that. So, going back to the original story, I'm going to meet the family that Friday. This is on a Wednesday when I dropped the shirt. Friday, I'm going to meet the family. When I come up, they come out. My brother come out. The father comes out in the shirt and literally is in my arms sobbing. And that moment, I got to meet my half brother's mom, the rest of his family. But in that moment, I realized it's amazing yeah, it's just amazing. I realize that how so many people are affected and they never get anything like this. So I was like, oh, okay, this brought him enough hope, but he just fell into my arms. I'm talking about he's sobbing hard and thanking me, but crying. And so that was the beginning. And it's just amazing how life, um, and how people need at a time when they lose. And so that was the beginning, and I kept going.
And to date, why don't you tell everyone what is the number of shirts you've laid?
Well, I know it's more than the number I'm about to say, but once I started keeping count, it was 630 shirts. The first was my nephew. The last was my niece. My niece was murdered getting off a bus, and so yeah, 630 kids. Some stories, a lot of stories, I don't even remember because I never had interaction. It was just leaving the shirt. Sometime I would see the shirt behind a newscaster where a house was set on fire and they lost the whole family. And then there were other areas and other places, but there are quite a few stories that impacted me where it's just amazing that we are even here. Like you said, there was a number of times I just should have just gave up, but I couldn't.
You know, that's been the thing that impressed me probably the most about you is just your willingness to face absolute opposition of every single time. Okay, so you created EMIY, which stands for Encourage Me, I'm Young, and you started laying these shirts. And you had mentioned you got a nonprofit. How'd you get that? What's the nonprofit?
So the nonprofit is Encourage Me, I'm Young Inc., right, which is EMIY Inc. And I mentored a young man. Um, his mom uh, got connected to me and asked me to come, right, and she was in a very affluent area, and I went to see about her son, and within 3 to 5 sessions, he was up and he was gone. So the last session I show up, she was like, he's in school, he's doing everything, he's doing well. She gave me a handshake of $200. And then about a week later, she called my phone and she just kept calling me, asking me these questions. And she's like, Kevin, I think I can help you, but I need you to answer some more questions. And so she kept calling. Finally, she got all the, what are you going to do? And what's your goals? And, all of this stuff. And then she asked me to meet her for lunch. And she said, don't tell nobody. And I'm telling everybody right now, but she said, don't tell nobody I gave this to you, but I want you to have this. You're going to need this. And she gave me, Encourage Me, I'm Young Inc. She told me to keep calling this number. And on May 24th, 2007, I became a nonprofit. And I really thought I had hit the lottery. I was like, oh, I got a nonprofit. I'm somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize um, as a person, I knew all the things I had gone through already, but I didn't realize the stuff I needed to learn and accomplish and grow through and all of that. So that's why I just kept going.
There's nothing like jumping into business saying, this is going to be great. And then realizing business is a lot.
Yes.
I pretty much figure that every time they give away or pass out a business license, you should get a trophy with it, not a participation trophy. But so you're laying these shirts at the sites of all these kids' deaths, and now you have a nonprofit. What did you do with it?
I helped to learn. I helped build another nonprofit. So I was able to use my nonprofit to help another nonprofit build their nonprofit. And then after that, I took off. So I did a youth march where we fed 300 families, and we ended up sending the leftover shirts to Ghana. and right to a school in Ghana. And then I branched out. I had a whole vision that I had been putting on paper from all this work, not realizing that this vision and the work that I was putting on paper was going to connect. So I always had this thing about reading for boys. I always had this thing about fatherhood because of where I come from. And so all this stuff just started lining up, and it was really spooky when I had to tell them I gotta go. And he was like, yeah. I was like, I got to go do this work. And I had no idea what the work was going to entail, but it seemed like anything that would impact me around you, I needed to do something. And that's what I did. Yep. And that's how it got started.
You know, I know I know quite a bit about your backstory. And this is one thing that always really was another thing that impressed me about you was I know you sell the Emmy shirts for, you know, to help fund all these different programs and everything that you do. But I really feel like that's only probably 20% of the reason you actually are pushing these shirts.
Yeah.
So why do you push these shirts?
Because I know once you get our brand in your home, on your child, on your person, in your life, it's going to do something to you, right? One of the greatest stories is a friend of mine named Lenny. Lenny was a friend that kept going into the hospital, and I would always inquire about Lenny. And Lenny was into hair, and I had I forget the quote was on the back of the shirt, but he finally had got out of the hospital. I said, "Hey, Len, I got an Emmy for you, right?" He was like, "Cal, right? Okay." So I ran to the car and I gave him the shirt, not knowing Lenny had to go back into the hospital. So Lenny is going back into the hospital. So I don't know. When Lenny gets out, Lenny is now working with kids, right? He changed his whole life over. So immediately I'm taking kids to Lenny to train them for football, the whole nine. He So I was taking my youngest son to him. So I don't know this story. But one day I get a call from Lenny. He said, "Cal, I see you. Rest in peace." He said, "Cal, I see you. I see it on your face, man. You want to quit." And I say, "Man, I'm just having a hard day." And man, he tells me, he said, "Cal, I'm going to tell you a story." He said, "Man, remember you gave me that shirt?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Man, that shirt is still in my bedroom." He said, "But I hung the shirt over the chair in the hospital. I wouldn't let nobody sit in the chair." He said, "Every day I rode up in the hospital, I asked God, what you want me to do?" Because he said that it was something about that logo that just wouldn't let him go. He said every day he would see, encourage me, I'm young. And Lenny said when he got out, he made a promise to God he would help kids, and that's what he did. And what a tribute, because Lenny ended up putting kids in a lot of schools, right? A lot of college, had them prepared for college, every level, out of his basement, out of his hard-earned money, the whole nine. And Lenny died after a session with my son. So he worked my son out Thursday night. Friday morning, Lenny was gone. I had to go tell my son that Lenny passed away. But that's Lenny's story. That's the impact that Encourage Me I'm Young had on Lenny. And I get stories like this all the time where the grown person, there's a child and every adult that didn't get encouraged. And so the grown person is literally wearing this brand up under their clothes and everything. And so the impact of the words being in the house or on the child or on their wrist or on their head, it is not coming from some idea that, I just had this idea. This is something God really gave me. And so what I figure in every brand or every shirt that you put in your home, or on your child, it is going to resonate to the people that see it. So it's actually telling you to encourage me. I'm young. So it's telling you what to do. And so that's part of the reason I believe that we hold a major solution in society. I don't think Encourage Me I'm Young is just an ordinary brand. I believe that Encourage Me I'm Young is a solution, as we've never had a fight since 2007 in mentoring. No disrespect. There's always been a change in the environment it's been. And I think that's pretty powerful. And so that's another part of the brand saying something. It doesn't come with a swoosh, or it doesn't have. It's telling you exactly what to do, and that is what I'm most proud of. Because of that, I'm most proud of the fact that when a child gets Encourage Me I'm Young as a T-shirt or whatever, it becomes their favorite shirt.
That's crazy. So it's almost like, well, obviously the whole impact of the logo was something God showed you. And what are some other stories that you've heard of where that brand just did the most incredible things in a house or, situation?
Man, it was this a crazy. This is one of the best stories I really got. Not just the Ron's house story, but this story was incredible. Every time the Detroit Lions, right? If I got one player to wear Encourage Me I'm Young during Caldwell's tenure, the Lions was in the playoffs. The other part was I would hear the Lions quote whatever was on that shirt in the interviews and everything. But I think the one thing that really stood out to me more than anything, there was this old Jewish lady in the parking lot one day. I was selling them out the trunk, and she saw it. And so she bought 2 shirts. Now, first of all, that was surprising. But she bought 2 shirts. Right? I give her my number. About a week later, she called and she tells me, I need some more shirts because I can't get my daughter out of this shirt. And she's going to want to wear the shirt. And then I think the one that really resonates with me more than anything was the impact Encourage Me I'm Young had on Detroit School of Arts, and how the environment completely shifted once it was in the school and on the students from Respect Day. And the young men and the young women started respecting each other. The young men began to hold the doors. The teachers and the grades improved tremendously. And I think that's the meat of what happened when we're doing encouragement.
Yeah. That's amazing. So, a lot of people own clothing brands and, sell things in a lot of different ways, but you've never really gone into full retail. Like I've heard many stories about you selling out of the trunk of your car just to fund this nonprofit and get this message out there.
Hey man, you're gonna have me crying, man. Listen. You can't understand how difficult that really is. And again, like I told you the other day, you can see me. There are so many people with just vile thoughts, negativity, misrepresentation, hate, racism, colorism, just a whole gambit of negativity. So when they see you, you just fall into this category. So I don't have time to convince you of who I am. I got enough time to sell this product knowing that I'm going to put it right back in and it's going to impact one person's life. Maybe that's all I got, right? But the other part is, man, you know how this society feels about.
I think that was one of the greatest things that I've always heard about you that really show your character. I don't know many people that can do whatever it takes for 14 years just because you know you're changing lives a fraction of a millimeter at a time. And honestly, that makes you one in a trillion, frankly. You know, I've met some pretty determined people in my life, but I think you're pretty close to the top. And I tell everybody about you because you are literally a shining example of what it means to succeed against all odds.
Nah, yeah,
You,
everybody think it's a shiny car.
I
We
mean,
we we, we think it's that's how they get you. They think it's we'll give you the infomercial. You can own this big car and this house, right? We give you these shiny things, and we talked, and somebody one time my own son said, "Dad, you're not successful." And I said, "Well, son, life is going to teach you what success look like." You know what I mean? I said, but I really don't have the space to argue with you. That's just an opinion you have from what you see, right? Your idea of success. I said, but one day I want you to just take a look and go back and go through your mental process and look at all the people your dad was involved with, and then look at their lives, right?
yeah,
It took him till he was last year during COVID. We were getting on the Zooms and having these conversations, and he apologized. He said, "Dad, this took the time for me to really take a look, and I know, I'm 30, 31." He said, "And you were right. You have always been successful." I said, "Yeah, but I don't have a shiny car in a big house. You sure I'm successful?" And he said, "No, I know for a fact you're successful. You're doing your part in this world and making that much of a difference." And that meant the world to me because he got to see it before I was gone.
you know, it's so easy to measure success with zeros, but in reality, zeros just don't have any substance to them. You know, you can make all the money in the world, but you can't take it with you.
But that's one of our quotes. Mom, Dad, you can make all the money in the world, but you just can't make up time.
I was actually having this conversation in another room recently. They said, what is the one thing money can't buy? And I said, time.
Yeah,
Time is your most precious commodity. And we were actually doing the math on it last night. You get roughly, once you take out work and sleep, you get roughly, what was it, 12,000 days or 12,000 days on this earth of actual
right.
time making an impact. That's not much.
Yes, sir. That's
And
why it goes back to time is all we have to change what we are. You never know when you got to cash in that ticket and you're gone. So you're only given a certain amount of time
mhm,
to complete, achieve, build your family, whatever God's stamp on you to complete, right? whatever time, sometime they don't even get a year, and a child can have that much of an impact on a family. The child only made it a year, or the person only got to be 21, then they had an opportunity to. You just don't know when your time card is going to be punched, and so you got to have a direction. And for me, that's why being involved with youth is so important, because that process, right? That process is not everyone is authentic with their children, and kids learn how and evaluate their parents and see that they're lying, so they know what the parent looks like when they're lying. So then when the parent turns to the child and the child says, well, can you say so and so and so and so? And you go tell that lie, the child is completely disappointed because they've already seen you tell that lie before. They know what your face looks like. That's the teachers, that's the parents, that's all. And here come a guy like me being truthful and authentic, they automatically clean. So you have to be careful when you're in the car talking on the phone, or when you're in the kitchen talking on the phone, and your kids, and you're telling lies on the phone, right? Because you're going to do it. Your kids learn, right? And so they don't trust you. Kids learn to not trust their parents. And you be like, didn't I tell you so and so and so? They'd be like, yeah, but I didn't saw you on the phone, or even with the teacher. Dad, no, Mom, you guys are lying. And so I've learned what you look like when you tell a lie. So now when you're talking to me and you tell that same damn lie, I know you're lying. So why would I listen? That's a big component to why our children, right, seek love in other areas, because we're constantly telling lies.
They see everything, and
They see everything.
and it's the stuff that you're not directly paying attention to that they see the most.
Yep.
One of my best friends, he has a story, when he actually remembers the day that he discounted his father completely, was the day his dad had a cigarette in his hand, and said, I don't want to see you effing smoking anymore, and I don't want to hear you effing swearing. And when the message that's actually transmitting to the kid is, well, you're doing it, so you no longer count. It's got farther reaching repercussions beyond just, the moment. And
Yep.
they see everything. There's a motivational speech I love on YouTube, and the name of the video is "The Wisest Person I Ever Met Was a Third Grade Dropout." It was his father. His father, once he had kids, literally challenged himself to be the best version of himself he could every single day for his kids, for the future. And every day he would get up every day he'd leave the house at 3:30 in the morning. And one day his wife asked him, he goes, why do you leave so early? He goes, maybe one of my kids will catch me in the act of excellence. There's so many different things that matter, and we could spend forever talking about, your entire program, because, well, it works. I mean, you've impacted the lives of over 20,000 kids. You've never had a fight. There's no disrespect. And these are kids coming not out of the shiny schools. Like, these are kids who are growing up without fathers in harder parts of Detroit, and out of that 20,000, not one has ever committed suicide. Even with the rise in suicide over the last 5 years, what's it up? 200%?
200% the last 2 years, and in 36 years, I never lost a boy. And the impacting the youth the 20,000 and being able to get in front of that many kids with very little, um, you know, speaking engagement, National Respect Day, right? Just just going, right? But the smash suicide piece, right, that we're seeing right now, give the gift of encouragement that we're doing right now. I just cannot understand in my mind how what happens is if somebody comes to the website and they go, right, this is where the hate or the other stuff kick in, which is sad. But to me, why wouldn't you give this to your child? You're going to put your child in something that doesn't say this, like the never got a thank you from the mass shooting. I forget the one and where they shot up the school with all the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I see their they've kept what is that, something park or whatever. I see their stuff on Twitter or whatever, and I'm going, we sent 100 shirts to that school, right? The quote was, love is the one thing you can take to heaven. There was not one message of thank you, right? None of that. No response, none of that. And not to, I don't know what was going through their mind. You know what I mean? I don't know. But to me, when someone does something for me, Shadow, and I tell my mentees this all the time, you have to be grateful. Mm. You have to just say, you have to say thank you, right? You have to say, is there anything I can do for you? You know, you have to be reciprocal and common courtesy and things like that. People struggle with saying hello today. Look at our society where you can't even say hello, right? The waiter this morning comes to the table and just flat out rude. My wife look at me and I look at him and I look back at him, and now he's got this sad look on his face because he realized, you know, he's talking to somebody ordinary, right? So I let it slide, right? So at that point, I'm gonna control the environment from that point on, right? Yeah, we'll call you when we're ready. Thank you. Truly appreciate you, right? Yes, we can use it, right? Literally, common courtesy his ass to the point that when he came to turn in the bill, he was softer the whole nine. And so as I'm checking out, he said, I can check you out right here. I say, brother, we all have hard days. Remember, treat everyone with love and care. You're going to win. And tipped him like the service that I walked him through, because if I don't walk him through it, my wife is about to snap. You see what I'm saying? She's about to like, let's go. Like, I'm not, you know, because women, they don't want to deal with that, right? And so walking him through the process, and, you know, and he thanked me afterwards. You know, so when I get to the car, she's like, what you do? I said, nothing. We're fine, right? Because that is who I am. I'm not going to let you take that away from us. This is our time as a family to have breakfast. We're going to enjoy breakfast. And if you are a good person, we're going to make your day, right? Sometime I even tip before we even sit down just to make them feel good. I just so happened to come in this time behind my wife then because I was running my mouth on the phone. But that's it. You know what I mean? We just got to do better, right? We gotta stop talking that we're not racist or hateful and all that stuff, and just execute common courtesy and respect to everyone.
Everyone. You know, that's why John Legere was so successful with T-Mobile, was the call centers, you know, the low end of these companies were just kind of looked at as a necessary evil, but they were completely looked down upon. And John Legere I'm mispronouncing that, but he was the first one to say, no, let's build from the bottom. If everybody is built up together, They will work together better. They will succeed better together, and we all succeed better than ever before. And when we came into T-Mobile, I mean, they were a failing cell phone company. I don't quote me on it, but I think they were worth like $3 billion, $3 or $5 billion when they hired him, and he took it to an $80 billion company. All because
Wow.
he was telling the story how every single year he flew to every single call center in the country. There's like 1,200, something like that. That's a lot of traveling just to go shake everyone's hand, make sure they felt like they were part of the company. I mean, heck, I know people who have worked for the call centers for years, and they're like, yeah, he's like, it's kind of weird. He actually showed up and was like shaking our hands. But that's how you do it, is build, as John the Bomb says, building others means business. And,
Yes.
you know, common courtesy doesn't cost anyone anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like you said, we all have bad days. And I mean, I've had days where I've had to stop myself and just be like, you know what? No, time to shift focus and shift perspective. And I've gone back and apologized, for not being as understanding in certain situations as I could have been. But I mean, that's just called being human. And at least I was able to stop myself. But let's get back to Emmy. So tell us about the Smash Suicide campaign you have going on right now.
So we just been raising awareness because in the city of Detroit and Cleveland, those two cities had the highest single household rate. They also had a number of casualties with boys, right? And so in Michigan, Detroit, right, there's this silent code like everything else when it comes to suicide. A lot of people don't want to talk about suicide, right? So what we did was I took my children's book character. First I did Oba, then I did Oba and Luther, right? So I took my children's book characters and put them on a billboard. Our boys need encouragement, EMIYWorld.com, right? So we were able to get, and that traffic is 22,000 people who saw that first billboard, right? But people don't necessarily act, right? Because the mindset is really very divisive here in Michigan, right? So then when we put up the second one, we go into the highest area code. 48204 has the highest suicide rate in the city of Detroit. So we put up the billboard, right? This time we use Oba and Luther, right? For the kids and the people. And right, and this billboard is standing out. But only 14,000 in this area is low traffic, right? But we put it there for a reason, because there are some other people that work for QPR and everything else that had not ever put up a billboard. So behind them seeing our billboard, they put up a billboard. So that was impact. So this last one, we went to the people, right? We asked the people to donate, right? We asked from my Facebook page, we're going to put up this billboard, and you guys, if you could contribute, here's the cash app, the whole nine, and this is what you're going to be a part of. And so eventually we raised the $2,500, right? And so we put the billboard up. The billboard will go down Thursday, right? It runs till Thursday, September 9th. On the billboard, it says 63% of all suicide. So I've been strategically moving this way, right? Because I'm bringing it back to what the solution is. 63% of all suicides come from fatherless homes. But the other process is that our children and this absent dad, or this overworked dad, or the providing dad, or the dad, right? Our children need more fatherhood energy. And because of that, again, 63% of all suicides come from fatherless homes. Now, when you think fatherless, you might be thinking the fact that the father is not there. A father could be in the house and the child is still fatherless.
And I bet that's not even in the statistics of it. Like,
no. And then from my research, I keep going. Here's the division: males from 5 to 100 are number one in suicide. Now you determine what you want to call it. You can break it up into black or white or Hispanic or Arab, or you can break it up in that. But males, 5 to 100, are number one. So suicide is impacting males tremendously, right? To the point that where they created murder suicide, right? You have suicidal decisions, right? These are things that it's impacting males, but while it's impacting males, it's snatching on the female, right? Because the fatherless homes almost always create an abuser, right? Abusive men, abusive boys, abuse, right? So domestic violence is impacted because a healthy father is not there. So yeah, I learned to put my hands on women, even if my dad was doing that, right? But let's say my dad wasn't there, I'm very violent with my hands, right? And so for me in this campaign, I want to raise the volume to the point where you understand that the only way a child is going to have a healthy chance is encouragement. And right, with that 40-year study, encouragement was the best way to raise a child. I want to impact every house, millions and millions and millions and millions. I'm talking about from baby bibs to grandpa jackets, literally impacting the lives of people, right? When they see encourage me, I'm young, because then you have to act. And if you act negatively, that word is already in your system.
Right. I noticed there were a bunch more people in the room. I'm going to do a quick recap of what's going on here so you guys can hear and understand what's going on. So my name is Shadow, and we are here today interviewing Mr. Clavin Mann here at the top. Clavin is the legend who never quits. For the past 14 years, he has ran a nonprofit outreach to young boys without fathers. He has faced every single adversity. He has funded this by selling t-shirts all the way down out of the trunk of his car, whatever he had to do to keep succeeding. He's ran up against hate, racism, you name it. He's ran up against nobody believing in him over and over and over. But for 14 years, he's never quit. He's never stopped. He's never turned around and gone back when everyone else would have. Now he's doing a program to smash suicide. You see, in 14 years, he's impacted the lives of over 20,000 kids directly. And out of that 20,000, there hasn't been a single suicide. So his real goal, beyond getting the message out of encouragement, is to eventually fund 10 mobile mentoring centers to take his program to the 10 poorest cities in the country to expand the message of hope. And to me, that makes a hero. I want to thank all the mods up here, especially from the Landing Big Whales Club at the top. If you guys aren't following the Landing Big Whales Club, you really need to. Some of the greatest people on Clubhouse are a part of that club, and they're always running amazing rooms of business and rooms of hope. So you don't want to miss. Click the little greenhouse. Make sure you're following it, because there's going to be more. But let's hear a little bit more about Clavin. Oh, I also forgot one of the most impressive parts. His brand, EMIY. He started something years ago of laying a shirt every time there's a kid slaying in his community. He's laid over 630 shirts. 630 kids have died in his community. And he just quietly went and laid a shirt just because it was the right thing to do. Just to give hope. He's carried the weight of so much. And I'm bound and determined to make sure the world sees him, because he's earned it. So, if you want to learn more about him, in his bio, he has his webpage, EMIYWorld.com. Go over there. Do some reading. Do some research. Pick up a shirt. Because that shirt not only will help him continue his work, but it's a gift of hope to somebody else. That's why he makes them. I'm going to keep running these rooms as many times as I have to till the world sees Calvin for what I see. You can look at his Instagram right now and see over 1,500 posts proving he's done the work every day in and day out, no matter what. That's what makes a hero. So we're going to get back to Calvin. Calvin, why don't you tell us about some of your plans for the future?
So, if anybody got any questions, just chime in. I'm open to answer, as Shadow has me wide open. but our goal is simple. We're in one of the poorest districts in District 1. There are over 18,000 lots available. We got a campaign to build our own empowerment center. We put out a $5 million campaign to raise $5 million to build our own empowerment center, which will include an innovation lab that was designed by our boys. Also, it will give, because we pull from 4 counties, which are probably 2 of the richest counties in Michigan. We pull from Ann Arbor, which is Washtenaw County. We pull from Oakland County, Macomb County, and Wayne County. Kids come into the city for our mentoring program. And having an empowerment center and getting people on board and involved, we could really multiply the work and the efforts, right? And we're talking all boys, right? I have to be clear because I'm always challenged. I remember the lady saying, Calvin, you know your program is for more than Black boys. I said, you just don't know my history. I said, you didn't read the bio. You didn't see where I come from. And you haven't read my history. I have helped all children, not just one type of kid. It makes sense to me that I'm a Black male, that I would work with Black males, right? It made sense to me to come into this impoverished area where there's a lot of damage and trauma, and make a difference in kids' lives. It just made sense to me. I was not taught prejudice or racism, right? So thank God for my parents. But in that process, right, this $5 million ask, they said it was impossible. Like, and every time you tell me something is impossible, I'm going, have I not done enough, right? The state of Michigan gave me my own day. April 6th is Clavin T Mann Day. I just kept it as EMIY National Respect Day. So is it not possible that here I am, this guy, almost 36 years of work, right? Can't we not do this? Can't we take that same area and develop some housing for the people, and, instead of people living in these houses where, crap is falling off the house or whatever, right? You got affordable housing. Maybe if you shifted to affordable housing, put in a whole nother, view, right? So let's start with the empowerment center. Hiring the people in the area, letting them work on the empowerment center, give them the buy-in, right? Let's vibrant communities. Let's redevelop the communities where businesses, they can come and learn how to run a business, because there's a whole section of people that is not getting information, and transportation is a real issue in Michigan. We're so far behind in the transportation game. Then, which is ironic for us being home to the Motor City, right? Of course. So then, right. And so our next campaign is our mobile mentoring bus, right? So we got the mobile mentoring bus. People have already started giving. Our ask is $200,000, right? So then we would get the bus cut up the whole night. Then we can pipe in speakers and people. When we pull up on the kids, we can back it up with proof, like, oh, this is not just a T-shirt company, or this is not just a non-profit. We're pulling up on you like, boom, here, get up on here. Let me show you. Here's some ways for you to learn how to read. Here's some information, right? Because who's being marginalized more than the boy right now, right? Education is 92% women, right? So who's being marginalized? The boy, right? What do we do for the boy, right? And in Michigan, 80% of our sons are in the hands of women, right? So what does that do for the boy when there are no men involved, right? So we're literally, when everybody's yelling and screaming, pipeline to prison is just one thing or it's just a black thing. No, we're literally all contributing to this pipeline, right? Because we don't value or not valuing each other. So that's a very important point to what we're doing with our mobile mentoring bus, right? And then the campaign we have right now is the 10,000 gifts of encouragement. I'm asking everybody to purchase at least one item off of Encourage Me I'm Young and give it to someone and then take a picture and send it and let them be part of what we're doing so they'll know it's somebody out here that doesn't want to see them bullied, doesn't want them to see them messed over from race, doesn't want to see them fail. I want them to know we want them to live their greatest dream. That is in my children's book. I want every child to be able to live their greatest dream. Whatever that greatest dream is, it should not be impeded by adults, right? We're supposed to be the ones to enhance, improve, and inspire dreams, not the ones to snatch, destroy, and murder dreams, right? And so that's what our work is really about. Our mentoring is hot. We have a 98% parental involvement in our mentoring. And so that's where we are. And we want to duplicate that. We went to Alabama, and the number 3 way to die in Alabama is, guess what? Suicide, right? And look at the laws that was just made there in Alabama, right? Look at what we're doing as adults. We don't see as kids, right? Our children are involved, right? Then when they hit home, you don't want nobody to know, so you're going to use nepotism, right, to know that your child is going through something, but because you made this law that is going to prevent other kids and other people, well, because I'm a politician or because I have, here go my nepotism, I can do whatever I want to do, right? And then what does that affect? Now your word is trash. And so that's what has really been happening. So the kids, who do they trust? They got to trust me because I'm for them. And that's why I have so many. I can walk into any one of your children's school right now. And by the time I get through walking through the hallway, right, they all will be listening, they'll be responding, and they'll be understanding because I exude encouragement. I literally walk in it for them.
You know, it's so funny. It's almost like a Pied Piper thing you got going on there, the way you just described that. I'm gonna open it to the floor for questions here in just 1 second, but I got to reset the room one more time before I do that because I just want everyone to know what's going on. So, today we're here in the Landing Big Whales room. Legends never quit, facing adversity. We're interviewing Clavin up here, and Clavin is a legend for making an impact. Over the last 14 years, he's impacted over 20,000 kids' lives with no help. Him and his wife have been doing this alone. He has been given his own day in Detroit, in Michigan, and yet the world is yet to see him. But I saw him. So before we open it up to questions, I do want to make sure everyone understands the recording live at the top means not only is this being recorded, but I am currently streaming this to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and 7 other platforms, it looks like. So just know that if you'd like to speak up, this is being recorded. Just for clarification's sakes with everyone. I don't want anyone to feel like they weren't informed or in any way not complete transparency. So if anybody has any questions, we're going to go down the room and just flash your mics if you'd like to ask any questions of Mr. Clavin up here at the top, and we will go around. Looks like Jason's up at the top first. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, first of all, thanks for putting the room together, Shadow. Clavin, I've had an opportunity to listen to you while I'm here, and I'm deeply moved and really humbled for everything that you've been going through to be able to build what you're building and the impact that you're making. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My question to you is, as long as you've been putting this together and you've been doing what you're doing, in order to continue to expand and build out what you're building, what exactly is the biggest issue that you have right now, and or the biggest missing for you to continue to grow and deliver the impact?
Human investment, right? Next level, board advisory, human investment, opportunities at other schools to speak, human investment on, um, helping grant writing, right? Because we do a number of grants, but being able to get and attract the type of dollars we need to get this thing to a whole nother level. And literally, we just filed another grant with Youth Sports Foundation, but just literally human investment, because you can't beat the information or the resource that another person can bring to this movement, right? And it's always, of course, you always need money, right? So you always need donations. You always need that type of investment. But for us to sustain, grow, right, we really need human investment, because we got to be able to train the way that we mentor. We got to be able to go into another city. Each one of our mentoring programs is supposed to cost $45,000. Right now, we've done, and you can see that on our website. You can download our year in review, but we've done 1.2 in donations um, and volunteering and those types of things over the years. But now it's really human investment, and financial investment always is important in order for us to grow. And I think that's where it really is for us, because then once you got that, you got opportunity. You can go into other cities because you are already strengthened in these areas, and people know exactly what is needed to put this thing together in this next city. So for me, that's what I'm looking at. And we're, like I said, we're always chasing every dollar that we can. We're talking to whoever we can get in front of and pitching. As a matter of fact, Tuesday, I went through a whole pitch training for our nonprofit with a very powerful man, and we literally are finishing that process so we can throw that pitch deck out, and really ask for another level, because the type of money and the type of work that we need is major. So, but for me, it's more people, it's more resources, it's more human investment. Because I'm not the only person with ideas. Someone else can lend their profession, and that might change the whole trajectory of exactly the work we're doing and improve it, because that's what you need anyway. So that's it for me.
Understood. I appreciate that. Well, I could tell you that if you're open to it, I have some ideas of what I've done in the nonprofit world for a very long time that may be a contribution to you, maybe give you some ideas of what we've done and raise and build out an army of individuals for nonprofit, as well as being able to raise money and really make the impact. If that's of interest, I'm here to serve.
Yes, sir. It's very much, Jason. If you can inbox a contact, it's on. I appreciate that.
I'll make sure you two get hooked up. And I see you flashing over there. Go ahead.
I am. My goodness. Shadow, thank you so much for bringing Calvin to us. And Calvin, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Our youth they need support. We know that. I was a troubled teen, but I didn't know where to go. I didn't even know I could ask for help. So I had to zigzag my way, and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And I'm happy to say that I've been, supporting in as much as I can, but it hasn't been in, I guess, in a structured way. So my question to you is, do you have programs or do you have opportunities for us adults who are maybe, in hubs or in different networks to know how to speak about what you're doing and how to educate maybe the youth in those clubs? In other words, for us to be ambassadors for the work that you're doing. And, the way you connect in schools, I don't know that I would be able to. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't, but there are other people that I could connect with. And there are other people that a lot of us who are in this room could connect with. So that's the question on the table. Do you have a training program for us, or do you have some kind of ambassador program? So,
yes, we're always looking for contributors, change agents, and champions, right? And so on our website is the information about becoming a champion. We're always looking for champions, right? Because we make sure that the champion is able to speak to exactly what we are about, right, and what we do. And any training we most definitely do. We're teaching schools the EMIY right now. I actually got a funnel out there called the EMIY, right, where we can teach parents, families, the whole nine, our method of engage, empower, and encourage, right? And we make sure that it's important because you can impact that club. So yes, most definitely, and we can get with you on that as well. Impacting, and my wife is the executive director. I'm the president, and we most definitely would be, would love that because now you got somebody that's out there doing that work and being an ambassador for us. So yes, ma'am, I would love that.
Thank you for that. We'll get in touch.
Excellent. Danielle, I see you flashing there. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Calvin, for the important work you're doing. I really believe in the power of what you're doing, and I appreciate the stories that you shared. As you were talking, and this is really just more of a comment, I was thinking about some research that I delved into, like probably, 10, 12 years ago, from a Canadian Indigenous researcher named Dr. Martin Brokenleg. And he has something you can Google called the Circle of Courage. And it talks about the 4 resiliencies that young people need in order to do well in life. And he had conducted a study of Indigenous kids in care in the foster care system. And he wanted to know why, when they have really, really similar obstacles, like they grow up in these really similar situations with lots of the same obstacles, why did some kids grow up to, be incarcerated and be underemployed and struggle in relationships and struggle with addictions, where other kids who grew up in really the same kind of circumstances grew up to have, stable lives and income and relationships and healthy lives. And he wanted to know why that was and what the difference was. And he conducted this study for a number of years and followed these children who were in foster care. And what he learned was that it boiled down to one thing. The kids who were well-adjusted and had stable lives had a mentor. They had somebody in their life who spoke into their life, who showed leadership to them, who encouraged them in their lives. And that was the only real meaningful difference between kids who grew up to be healthy adults and kids who grew up to have serious struggles. So your work of Encourage Me, I'm Young is exactly on point. It is what the research shows, and it's not just a good thing to do because it's nice to do. It actually makes a massive difference, and there's research to back that up. So thank you, Calvin. I'm just going to encourage you to do some Googling about the Circle of Courage by Dr. Martin Brokenleg, and I think you'll find that research really interesting in the work you're doing. And so I just wanted to say how much I appreciate your work and how important it is. And that's me done.
Thank you so much, Danielle. I will most definitely Google. I'm always looking for information. So thank you. That was awesome.
Before we move on, there's one story that I want you to share, just to kind of illustrate the kind of resilience this man has. Tell him about the Ron's house instance you had.
So I was Ron's house, and you can Google season 4 on YouTube, and you will see "Encourage Me, I'm Young" in the trailer and the show. Russell Simmons used to come to Detroit for these hip hop summits, and so at the time I was also, I also sing and do music. I actually have a song called "Encourage Me, I'm Young" that'll be attached to the movement, and I handed him a soundtrack, and in that process, later on that day, I ran into him, told him, "Don't ever forget my face," and I was giving him an Emmy shirt, one for him and his wife. He said his wife wouldn't take it, but he took it. My uncle and I were working together at the time, and so we sent a 6-pack. Fast forward to the fall. I'm pulling up on barbershop everywhere I can, selling T-shirts out the trunk. I go into the barbershop, offer, and the guys were like laughing. They was like, "No way, we straight," all of that, right? Without them really even understanding what was happening. And it was a friend of mine in the back of the shop. She was doing nails at the time. She called me to the back. She promised to buy a shirt. She, don't pay them no attention, Cal, the whole conversation. I was used to it because people don't understand, right? It's positive. I mean, positivity is very hard to get across in the negative world. So I get that. But the positive piece, and so she said she was going to buy one, and I left. The next morning I wake up, it's a message from her on Facebook. "Man, as soon as you walked out the door, I saw your clothes on Ron's house." I was like, "What?" And so I cut on Ron's house the trailer, and there it was, right? The TV show. And so I was blown away. I reached out to Russell, right? He wanted me to connect with his brother. And at this time, him and his brother and Kid Rock was coming in. They were going to come to Joe Louis Arena. So the first night they're here, I go to Joe Louis Arena, right? I got the shirts in my hand. I have no idea what I'm doing, right? But I'm talking to Russell with some other people there. So security, right? Security come out. They get on the bus. Security come out, prevents us. And so I'm standing out and I'm showing the shirt to the bus as it's pulling off. And the kid saw the shirt and was like, "That's, pointing toward the shirt." And they closed up the curtains. And the bus kept going. So I was back the next day. "Hey, I'm here." So the driver says to me, he's like, "Man, I love what you're doing. Rev Ron to be out in a second." Well, the guy, I guess, that was handling him decided that wasn't the case. For them, it was like I was a criminal or something. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't understand. And what happened was the security guy came out and was all in my face, and I was like, "Man, they rocking my shirt on their show. Like I'm just trying to reach, Red Ron because his brother told me to come up here, and they treated me like I was a criminal." I was like, "Wow!" So it was snowing real bad. And so the bus pulled up and stopped, and the guy is in the doorway of the bus, and I'm knocking on the glass, and I'm showing him shirt. I said, "Man, I just trying to talk. Russell told me to talk to y'all, whatever." He turned his back to me and everything. And I was like, "Wow." And then the bus took off. So I'm standing there in the snow, like just it's snowing pretty heavy. And this lady, I can't believe it. I'm like, "What did I do wrong?" And this lady walks by and she asked me, she said, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." She's like, I was like, "My shirt on their show, and they just treated me like, you know, a criminal or something." I'm like, "Wow, I don't understand." And so she walked away, and I just stood there. And about 15 minutes later, she pulled back up. I'm all covered in snow, and she was like, "Here you go. I need that shirt." And she gave me a handshake, and in the handshake was a folded $100 bill. and she told me never give up. And I just, really stood there, and then I finally walked away, and just I never understood why, you know. And that was the tough one. That was one in which I literally was ready to stop. It was very, very tough because I didn't understand the treatment. I'm like, I'm, I'm doing the right thing, right? So, but yeah, that was the tough one.
You thought you'd finally, after all that time, got an opportunity to move the needle forward, just to have it literally shut in your face.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
And yet, you kept going.
I kept going. Here we are. You know what I mean? It's for me, it's the success of human capital is the drive, right? Because that's what we're supposed to be about, right? The lives of others. Isn't that what it's supposed to be about? Improving the lives of others. Reach one, teach one. I have a quote. It says, "Friendship is the ultimate goal of every relationship."
I like that.
Am I dreaming? Is this just? Am I in the wrong world, or I just got a bad philosophy? I mean, like, you and I hit it off right away. I play keeps for friendship. I'm not in this, and it's not about monetary. I truly care about you, right? That's just who I am. I guess that's who my parents made me, right? And the people in my life, in the circumstances, I've always been a good friend to people.
Me too. And it's hard sometimes. But, you're not born in the wrong world. You're actually born in the right world. Because you're somebody the world actually really needs. Like, really needs. Somebody who is not only all about making a difference and leaving a legacy, but somebody who never quits. And like we were talking about how kids are always watching, your son gets to see you with everything you've run up against, never stop. I mean, I don't know many people that after years of trying could think they finally get their big break, get the door shut in their face, show up again the next day in a snowstorm just to try to get one more opportunity, have it slammed in their face, and still not quit.
Shadow, one of the things I learned, and my little brother and I had this discussion before. He said, in life and in business, you better get used to no.
Amen to that.
Get used to hearing no. So it's not so shocking when you hear it, right? Because you think you got the greatest idea, huh? He's like, and there are many people who have even greater ideas. He said, but just get used to, hearing no. And I said, well, I've heard no so much. Maybe I should change my middle name. And he fell out laughing. Maybe my name should be Calvin No. No.
No,
man, right? No, right?
No.
But the results, right? I don't chase bags. I chase results, and the result is watching a healthy young man go after his dream and become a healthy dad.
And you have fought for every inch of real success that you've got. Like, yeah, I'm just always in awe every time I talk to you. Like, it scrambles my brain when I start trying to process, how successful you really are. Like, For those of you listening, these stories are a fraction. I mean, a sliver of the total number of these stories. Like, these are 14 years worth of day in and day out stories. We could sit here for hours just telling story after story after story after story after story of those doors being closed, and the man's still standing. I mean, if you go to his Instagram, you can look at his Instagram and scroll for a very, very, very long time. He's done the work. And I just want to see him finally get that break, or that bus door finally gets opened. And that's why I created this room. That's why I'm going to keep creating these rooms. I'm determined for the world to see Calvin, because Calvin deserves to be seen. His message and program actually make a difference. He's got the analytics to prove it. He's not doing it on a hope and prayer that so many people do. And, one day I could. And no, 14 years. He has beat on that dang brick wall. It's just time for that damn wall to move. Either that or find him a window, because the wall ain't working. But the truth is he has earned it. He's earned it 100-fold. And you can't tell me that your community doesn't need this program, because every community needs this program, where you can actually reduce. Well, I mean, if your program was fully applied, you would eliminate teen suicide, apparently, since out of 20,000 kids that you've mentored, you've never lost one to suicide, which is incredibly important and mind-blowing if you think about it. But
we never have to lose a kid, right?
No, and we never should. We really never should.
We never have to lose a kid, right? We understand that kids have illnesses, from sickle cell, cancer, right? We get that, right? We get those things. But suicide, right? A pain in a child's life, right? We should never have that. A kid not being able to read, we should never have that. A kid being traumatized, abused, we should never have that, right? A kid being bullied today, how far we've come, we should never have that, right? The doubt, right? For this month session, right? For our mentoring program, we're using Baylor colors. We always use championship colors. So last spring, it was Alabama. Alabama won the national championship. We went Alabama colors. This one is Baylor. Baylor won the NCAA championship. We're going with Baylor colors. The quote on the back is, doubt destroys outcomes. Right? Imagine that. Imagine being a business owner and walking in, and every day all you got is this doubt. Right? Imagine being a parent. Every day you get up in the morning, all you're doing is teaching your kids doubt. Right? The outcomes are going to be destroyed. Right? And so that's the message we're going to send going into the second half of the year for our next 14-week session. Doubt destroy outcomes. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the message to the parent or whoever reads the back of that kid's shirt. Right? Because we want them to understand that you can't doubt us. One of our shirts, one of our mentoring programs shirt was "Invest in me and get your money's worth." That was on the back of our mentee shirt, and our boys put on a show. When I tell you they put on the show, these little kids, they put on a show. And to them and for them, right, it lit a fire under them like never before. And so, like right now, a lot of those kids are still in the program, and they're literally cooking for their families. They're taking care of their families. They're being responsible. They're doing the work as servant leaders. Kids helping the grandfathers pour cement, right? It's just a story after story after story. One of our kids was on the U of M football team yesterday, right? Here's a kid was already impacting you in football before he even hiked the ball. So that's the point of servant leadership, right? True leadership is about empowering others, right? It's not about I'm the boss and talking cocky and all of that. True leadership is about empowering others, and that's truly where it's at. We have so many people that power reveals who they really are on the inside, and that shows daily. But guess where that shows at? It shows to your kids, right? So when you see somebody, you'd be like, "Oh, he's a jerk." All you gotta do is go find out who taught it, right? Where did it come from, right? And so that's what we're doing. We're making sure we're plant. Just like our labeling says, if you order a shirt right now to give the gift of encouragement to someone, you go to EMIYWorld.com. When that package arrives, it's going to say planting the seeds to change the world. That's on our labeling. You're going to get that. And there's a reason for that. Established in 1992. I'm here, right? We're here. We're not going anywhere. If you don't invest, eventually you will, because you're going to get a commercial. You're going to see it. I'm not going nowhere. We're just going to keep pushing until you get it.
Yeah. Shadow, do you mind if I just want to thank Clavin, and I know it's your room, and can I just say I so appreciate the stage and just the space that you created. This has just been, I'm just about to go to training, but Clavin, I just wanted to honor you, and I don't believe in accidents, so however I can serve you, please let me know. You are an amazing person, and I love what you're doing because kids are so close to my heart because I immigrated from Johannesburg, South Africa when I was 11 and a half. So, I like to be a servant leader. So if I can help you in any way, please let me know. And you guys are incredible, and I love the space, and I honor you. What amazing people, and good for you for everything you're doing, and may God bless you. This is just
Thank you so much, Justine. You have fun at training.
Thank you very much,
Andrew. I see you flashing. You got something to add here?
Oh no, I was just more or less clapping. So, but
gotcha.
But yeah, I would share, if you don't mind, if I have just a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a couple of different things. One, it's something Clavin said a while ago. He was talking about how that maybe his philosophy doesn't fit in with this world. I know how that feels a lot because I won't get into all that, but I have different beliefs and different ways I go about life that I'm like, man, I think I live contrary to almost everybody I run into, and so sometimes it gets disheartening having a viewpoint about life and about people, and then running into people that and having experiences that are contrary to that. But I would just encourage you, man, to keep doing you, man. And I know I don't have to encourage you. You've done a lot in your life, but just from one bro to the next, man, just keep doing you. But I would also share that so I work with all different kinds of people, all kids also. I taught school in public school for 5 years, but I'm part of a program now called it's the Heart Math Institute. You may know about it, you may not, but the program's building personal resilience, and so it's all about brain and heart coherence and different techniques. And they go into schools, work with military, work with police, getting kids to be more resilient internally. Might be something that you'd be interested in implementing with your program. You may already, but it's pretty simple stuff. So hit me up if you're interested in that, and I can give you that information.
Thank you, Andrew.
And that was, this whole thing is pretty much why there's so many different facets for even starting rooms like this. It's because people like Andrew, they also have complementary programs. At the end of the day, Calvin's whole thing is to succeed, not for him. And I got to appreciate that. Like, if you're willing to do the work out for something greater than yourself, and you're able to actually network and find the other people doing the same thing that coincide with what you're doing, that's how world-changing impacts get done. And Clavin, you have definitely put in your work. So I really feel like it's time that you get some breaks. That's why I'm so thankful that everyone came in today and supported. There's just been so many great people that have come in and out of here. I wish I could just thank absolutely everyone, especially all the whales up here on the top. Chris Salem, I absolutely love you. Justine, just everybody who showed up today. And I'm going to keep putting Calvin to the forefront because Calvin deserves to be seen. I think I'm going to probably end up wrapping up this room here real quick unless somebody else wants to add something. Bryce, I see you. And then we'll go to Chris.
I wanted to say something.
Okay, I'll add you too. Go ahead, Bryce.
Thank you, Shadow. First and foremost, I got pinged in this room. I'm not on Clubhouse very often, maybe once a month. And Dan pinged me in the room earlier, and Jason pinged me. And so I just want to say thank you for having this. And I want to say thank you to Calvin for sharing your story and whatever it was that you initially shared with Shadow to create that relationship, man. So thank you to the both of you. I'll share with you a brief 30,000 foot view of my story, and then I want to remind you that I put my calendar link, Calvin, in your inbox. And so if you would, at some point at your convenience, jump on my calendar, I'd love to chat with you a little bit more offline and see how my organization can help your organization. I founded a group here in Dallas called Integrity Mentors with a lot of the same beliefs that you have, because I grew up in a split home, south side of Chicago. And by the age of 17, I was facing 2 counts of murder, drug trafficking, conspiracy charges. And by the grace of God, I had no conviction. I was acquitted. Shouldn't have been. I shouldn't be here today. Rose up through the ranks as a car detail kid at a Ford dealership that my uncle was running. And one snowy afternoon in December, my uncle gave me a chance at life. He said, "Kid, this is your shot. Sell a car today, put you on the team." Lo and behold, I sold 3 cars. He put me on the team next week, and over the next 2 years, I become the #1 car salesman in the world. Ford, Nissan, Toyota, Honda recruited me out of my dealership by the age of 23, traveled the world teaching my ideas, my business concepts, and my sales techniques. Unfortunately, I still had never had a dad in my life, so a lot of the stuff that you said resonates with me. When I lost my son in 2006, my wife took her life in 2008. I was just a mess. And ended up having a boy in January or February of 2010. Found out I had a boy on the way, sobered up, got my act together. Mom never sobered up. I got sole custody of him. With the last little bit of money I had left over, I fought for custody of him, won. And September 28th will be 10 years to the day that I, too, tried to take my life because I didn't think I was good enough to be a dad. And I'm really trying to hold my stuff together right now. But
Doing great.
Doing great. You're making an impact. I've now got the pleasure and honor to be the dad to the middle school millionaire. He's 10 years old. He's got a net worth of $30+ million. Heck, last month he did more than I did in my own business. And we've been hired by some of the greatest minds in the world, Dr. Thomas, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, to come and share our story and teach business to their networks and sales and persuasion. And man, I don't know what I can do to help, but I'd like to get involved. And I've seen that you have an event coming up. I don't know that I can make it. I'd just love to chat with you more. Sorry, I'm like bawling inside right now. But I'll tell you, moving forward, if you put together something that's consistent, if you don't already have, again, I didn't have time to look at your stuff as much as I've just been trying to listen and process and discern because I'm not on here often. I'd like to at least volunteer my time annually to come and speak at your events and bring my son and share our story and encourage the kids that you work with. Because it's not just the boys, it's the girls, it's all the children.
Yeah.
And I just want to be the dad that I wish that I had. And so I resonate with you, Calvin, and I appreciate you and I love you, brother. So whenever you get a chance, if you can check your inbox here and Get on my calendar, man. Don't worry about the fees that I charge. I just tell me where you are and who you are, and my assistant will make sure that you get through. And get on my calendar. And I'd love to just see what we can do and work together, man. God bless you. I love you. My name's Bryce McKinley, Coach Sharpen, and I'm done talking.
Bryce, thank you. Bryce, let me share something with you, right? Not only do I run an organization called Encourage Me, I also run Good Fathers Only. You being a good dad, your presence and your teaching and your guidance is present in your story. Society has done a number of fathers that we marginalize the importance of dad. We understate the value. We've pushed on fathers the providing of money, but not the providing of time, and not the providing of lessons, and not the providing of guidance, and not the providing of touch, and not the providing of care. Right? We misplaced all of that. We take shows and make fathers look buffoonish, and which creates more issues for more young people, because young people then decide that they don't want to be fathers. They see, right, what it looks like. I remember having a conversation with a 16-year-old male that just said he never wanted to be a father. Well, let me tell you how important and how powerful you are, Bryce, and every dad that's on here and every mom that's listening. When the Bible says honor thy mother and father, it's for a reason. That your days will be long. In the research, when a boy or a girl, when a child has their father from birth to 9, the child lives longer. How important is that? That's where superheroes are made. That's where the cakes come in. That's where we miss the boat on the true information of how important boys are. So when you look at what we're doing, when we're saying we're seeding in the lives, the reason why I target the boy, because the boy is the first seed carrier. The other reason why I target the boy is because the boy is not performing to his level, and males are falling off years ahead of women. Women are now outliving men by at least 7 to 10 years in some categories. When you go through the research of COVID and all these other things, right? As I said at the beginning of the conversation, males 5 to 100 are number one in suicide, right? When you look at males and heart rate, heart attacks, when you look at males, prostate and colon cancer, we need our fathers because we need their wisdom and their guidance. So I'm saying to you, listening to your story and just hearing you are an amazing dad, right? That's who you are. You have been an amazing dad from the time that you had your child, and the fact that you fought and went and got your child, and you're raising your child. Amen. No one can take that away from you. Only you, right? So remember, loving yourself is a part of appreciating what you bring to the table. Your child is going to always need you. Now he's 10, he'll be 30. Some fathers live to be 90. They get to impart that wisdom as much as possible, right? And so I just want you to understand that, right? We need you, right? So we don't want you to feel that way. We don't even want you to talk like we need you. Your words, deeds, and actions have all lined up right. You're a winner. You're doing it, and we need you to be here, right? And so that's for any man as well as any woman who has a husband. I always suggest to women that listening to your husband and valuing what he has to say, and vice versa, if it's healthy, it's important that we tell them and we encourage them as well, right? And that's vice versa, the men to women, right? That's just a great lesson that you just taught us all, Bryce, and I appreciate that. And yes, we will hook up. Brother Shadow?
Yes, I was just going to say, I know you focus on just young boys, and I mean, it sometimes sounds weird. I'm like, well, I'm just focused on the boys, but like, that's a big enough piece for one man to carry. Like,
well, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah, I mean,
do that.
Yeah.
I only do that in programming, right? I
Yeah.
only do that in programming. I'm a firm believer that women should work with girls and men should work with boys. I'm a firm believer in that. There is some things that understand why our girls are flourishing is because they have the in-house role model. Why our boys are not so flourishing is because they don't have the in-house role model, and they're missing that secret ingredient. Dad offer a secret ingredient. Um, if you got two parents in the house, kids need both parents, and it's important that he has. We have to stop speaking like men are dumb. We're not. We're absolutely brilliant, just like women are brilliant. But we have to stop speaking and talking like we're just not that smart. That's just not true. It's not complimentary, and it's lying. And again, our kids are watching, and and we have to be um, focused on the truth and living the truth in front of our children, because that's the way we create more authentic people. That's how we create more authentic people.
Right. So next up, I saw Chris flashing. Chris, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I know I joined late, but I wanted to thank Calvin, number one, for everything that he's doing. I'm a big advocate of fathers, having a nonprofit myself called Empowered Fathers in Action. Calvin, it'd be great to hook up with you. I think this is so important because boys require some kind of guidance. And I know personally, I grew up without my father being around and always seeking this validation in other people that led down a path of 30 years of codependency, 12 years of addiction, of anger. So I can relate to everything that's being said here, and I want to give him a big shout out, even though I caught it on the tail end. I've looked into what you're doing. It'd be great to connect with you. And Bryce, I just wanted to say I want to thank you for your transparency and vulnerability, because a lot of times men can't do that or decide not to do that. And that is like the two things that are number one in the healing process of moving out of the problem into the solution. So the world needs more of the Calvins and Bryces of the world, especially the boys that become men, that they can learn from role models like that. So thank you, both of you. And Shadow, thank you for putting this room together.
Oh, anytime, Chris. And Calvin, I'll directly hook you in with Chris.
Okay.
So Lady Beauty, yeah, I saw you also wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Hey. Okay. So not intentionally, but I may contradict you a little bit, Calvin, but I am just as masculine as I am feminine. And I have 3 boys. My oldest is a teenager. He just turned 13 this year. And I actually wanted to give him some flowers. So he got suspended for the first time this past week. And I'm grateful that it wasn't any fights. It wasn't any, it was simply being an extension of yourself. And he just thought it was funny to put a pencil in someone's butt crack. And it cost him 2 days. And although I know children are funny and they goof around, and, the boy, he even kind of laughed too, but still, I had to teach him a lesson about leadership. And I am aware enough to see that my son is struggling with leadership. And I had to tell him that it's either you're going to be a leader or you're going to be a follower, and you can't be on the fence. In every sense of the word, you cannot be on the fence. And I want to also say that my son, I am a single parent. None of their fathers are in their lives. And I had to and my son has fell a victim to the school system. He's supposed to be in the 8th grade. He is currently in 6th grade, and I want to give him his flowers because he struggled with writing. He struggled with like English communication. You know, boys we've learned that boys tend to struggle with, you know, communicating and expressing themselves because of this narrative that they put out there. And I challenged him to write an 800-word essay about leadership. And of course, you know, he went into tears, he's freaking out, you know, like 800 words, you know. And grateful enough, I have always, my writing has been my strength. I'm a very great writer. And I sat down, I made him an outline. I taught him how to, you know, use a fact and elaborate on his opinion. And, you know, I just put it in his mind. It's not about how many pages you're writing. It's about understanding the concept of expressing your opinion. Find a fact and express your opinion. And then your opinion can go on for however long you want to talk. It's literally, you're just having a conversation about what you think about this fact, and you find another fact and you continue. And, you know, so needless to say, he's never written even a freaking, you know, more than like a paragraph. He just really, and my son did it. He wrote 800-word essay, and he did try to do a little plagiarism, but I nipped it in the bud before I even looked over. He said he was done, and I said, just so you know, before I read over this, I want you to know that you can get in trouble for plagiarism. And I was like, so me saying this, are you sure you're ready for me to read this? And he was like, no, I need more time. So he came back and he actually wrote an 800-word essay, and I'm so proud of him. And he really understood and took in what it means to be a leader. And I've seen a huge change in him. Just, you know, we're still struggling. You know, he's 13, but, you know, I'm just so proud of him. And actually, he wrote it, and I asked his grandmother to like read over it because I was trying to cook and all this other stuff. And she accidentally deleted his whole essay. And that's what made me realize how much effort, like for the first time I've ever seen him put into something. And I mean, when she erased his whole essay, I mean, he just broke down into tears, ran to his room. And like, I was even upset. And, you know, it was a test, you know. And I told him to come here, and I said, you know what? I'm so proud of you. The fact that the way you even reacted to your essay being deleted shows me how much effort you actually put into writing this essay. And I said, did you understand, you know, what it means to be a leader? Did you, you know, because I wrote down a lot of things. I went into integrity, you know, branched off so he could really get the concept. I gave him a thesaurus. I gave him a dictionary. You know, and I showed him how the thesaurus works. I showed him how a dictionary works. And I was like, if you find a word and you don't understand what that word means, then you can go to the synonyms, find another word and look at that definition, and you just keep going until you get the understanding of what that word means. So it really helped him write this essay. And I said, you understand what it means to be a leader? And he was like, yeah, you know, I got it. And I said, well, that's all you needed. That's all we needed. It's not about the words. I just wanted you to understand. So, you know, that was really big for me. And being that I am a single parent And being that I've never went to schooling for child care or anything, I just lived it. I was that girl that babysitted your children. If your husband or your spouse went off to deployment, I was the person that spent my summers 12 and 11 years old taking care of your kids. And I love music. That's why my background is hairstyling, but my biggest passion is children, and that's what I've come to know. I'm 30 years old and I realize that my passion is pouring into children and getting children to express themselves. And my challenge for me now is to figure out what I can do in the community that I'm in right now. And on a smaller scale is the apartment complex that I am, because I see single moms, even I've seen one with 4 boys, all boys, Black boys. And I see the way like she talks down to them, that she calls them names and stuff. And I understand stress, but it just hurts my soul. And I just want to figure out how me, in the place that I am, can help start right here where I'm at.
So, lady, I most definitely appreciate that. I would be willing for the complex to talk to the kids, all the kids you can put together. We can put together a Zoom. I'll be willing to talk to them on a Zoom. Also, for your son that's in the 6th grade, right? That's 13. I have another way, right? Another process that will impact him to really go even higher. It was beautiful about him writing the essay because, as I always tell parents, there are things that boys are supposed to be doing that they're not doing. Writing essays is most definitely a way, but poetry is another. And I just put out a journal which I'll be putting out in October for kids. In October for kids, and then and doing a book signing. But you can get that journal on Amazon right now. But I would love to talk to the kids in your apartment complex. Maybe we can set up a Zoom and we can have a conversation with them and getting them to understand really how truly important they are. I don't think you contradicted me. I understand what you were saying, and I hear it often, right? So even in our mentoring program, we have a 98% parental involvement, and the program inside our mentoring program is called PULSE. And we make sure we give every parent and teacher, student, whoever's in that PULSE program, mainly as parents, we give them the tools to take back to the home so they can improve the environment. So when we send the kid back into the environment, these things are in place. Integrity, loyalty, those are some of the things. Good decisions, how they make good decisions, hygiene, cooking. These are things that they're taught in 14 weeks in order to get their Emmy Future Leaders jacket. Nothing says Emmy Future Leaders like these things. Integrity, loyalty. Our number one rule in our mentoring program is you can't use the N-word or derogatory words toward each other. That's the first rule. Number 2 rule is always having respect for your peer and your partner and caring about your partner, because each kid gets a peer partner in our mentoring program. And then we just list them all the way down, and the parents have to sign off and the kid has to sign off. It is that important.
Agreed. And yes, I am open for that.
That's great.
So if you can inbox inbox me, and then we can go from there. We'll set up a Zoom, and maybe we can get as many young men as possible in your apartment complex, like I said, on the Zoom. Because right now, this month we're giving as many gifts of encouragement. We've already since Wednesday sold a number of pieces, and we're seeing it take place. And so we're at we only got 9,873 items to go, right? And once we get to that 10,000 for us for this month, the month of September, Suicide Prevention Month, we know that this would impact the environments that they're in, the whole nine. So I would love to, do that. That would be a gift to your apartment complex. Most definitely, I would love to do that. Thank you. Brother Shadow?
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. I think we're about at our time limit for today, unfortunately, but I just want to recap before we end this room. So I want to thank Calvin for coming out and telling his story once again. And I want to thank everyone else in this room that showed up. You definitely made it a great day, and it was great hearing your stories as well. If you guys aren't following the Landing Big Whales room at the top, the club, I highly suggest you do it. They've curated a group of absolutely incredible individuals who are not only business-centric, but also heart-centric. People that actually care and people that actually want to make a difference. Leading with faith and leading with heart. And I'm so blessed to be a part of this group. So I want to thank everyone that's came. And before we go check out EMIYworld.com. EMIY. Emmy. If you're having trouble typing in, just click on Calvin, go over to his Instagram. It's all over. While you're there, give him a follow. Scroll through his stuff. Everything we're talking about is completely verifiable. You can look back for years. This man's done the work. So I want to honor you, Calvin. You're a man of one of the greatest men of success I've met on this app. You've succeeded where pretty much anyone else would fail. So don't ever forget that. You are an absolute hero. And now we're going to make sure that the world sees you because it needs you. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to stop the live video on all the other social media platforms and end the room. So I want to wish everyone an absolutely wonderful weekend. What is it? I don't know. Labor Day weekend. Yes.
Labor Day.
Shadow, real quick.
Absolutely,
real quick,
Bryce.
Before you go, can I ask more questions?
Go ahead.
Calvin, what's your most pressing need right now? You said something about the 9,000 something for this month. What's your most pressing need right now, my friend? So everybody knows.
Well, we're this month is our 10,000 gifts of encouragement. We're asking everyone to purchase an item, give it to a kid, take a picture, and send it to us and become part of the movement. What I meant by the 9,000, we have 9,873 items to go to reach our goal of 10,000 gifts of encouragement purchased from Emmy and given to you, adults, anyone you know that needs encouragement, that needs to be inspired. We know that this is what we do. And so our items, and if you go on our website right now, and in our discount code and type in Smash Suicide, run it together, you will get an additional 10% off. And I think it's important, just like you just heard her story, I think it's important that we line our children up with Emmy. I've seen the results. I know the results. And I just think it's important that we get to that level. I always had this dream. So that's my most important pressing need right now, Bryce. And more involvement with next level people, as I told Jason. Next level people, so we can get to that next level. Human capital is very, very important to this mission.
Basically, whatever.
And, I'm going to set that timer up.
Basically,
yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, no. Basically, anything that can get his message out there and get him to be seen by the world. So influencers, sports stars, anybody that can actually take the time, see his brand, and are willing to, put themselves behind it just to boost him up. That would be huge for Calvin. And of course, there's 10,000 gifts of encouragement, which is a fantastic way to spread hope throughout the world. I'm already going to be buying a huge block myself just to give away in my community because every community needs encouragement. So if you guys are watching at home and you want one of these EMIY World shirts and you're local to me, go ahead and hit me up. I'll get you one. That answer your question, Bryce?
Absolutely. I got some questions. So appreciate it. I look forward to catching up, Calvin. Thank you again, Shadow, for putting this together.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. It is my Sunday. I'm tired. I'm going to go relax for a little bit. I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm going to rent this room in 5, 4, 3.
Everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers. I'm glad I was here.